advised, we have a visual.
Okay, we follow it.
Enemy spotted. And attempt to snatch a grid pop of uniform 259er 11.
For officers who are come to Finsbury Park.
America has its FBI, the United Kingdom has the MI5, South Africa has the Hawks, a select few tasked by the President to investigate special crimes. In this exclusive documentary, News One meets the head of the country's top crime-fighting unit and journeys with him back to his rural roots.
We do our investigation without fear, favor, or prejudice.
This road leads to Lieutenant General Godfrey Lebeya's birthplace. It's also the home of Maselekwane Mojaji, the first Rain Queen of South Africa's Balobedu tribe. She lived in complete seclusion, deep in the forest, where she practiced the age-old secret ritual of making rain. The area is poor. There's no running water, flushing toilets, or electricity.
People say, what is this rain making? That practice is not something like an island. In Africa, we have a belief system. These African people believed in God and called that God different, gave that God different names. And the rainmaker is God. Now, because the queens are said to be the incarnate daughters of God, and they are seen as the earthly representative of God on earth, which means they are imbued with certain powers which are sacred or divine powers. And it is these powers that they use to make rain. In the church, the priest will pray for rain. Ask God. He has no tools to make the rain. But the rain queens believe in God. They are earthly representatives of God. They have special powers to make rain.
This is the place where I was born. And as you can see, the area here, that is where you can see that the soil is still a little bit higher than the other place. That is where my house was. My house was a round oval. Yeah, it was coming this way. Yeah. And then there it comes, and then it comes that way. And then the exit was this side. Because after the exit, that is then you go into the kraal. The other houses were that side. And then there were other houses on the other side. So in between, it was a place where you can sit. So opposite this, just there below was a hut for my mother where the cooking takes place. So this is where I grew up. And that is the last house that I occupied until 1976.
This sacred place at the top of a mountain is the resting place for some of his family members.
As you can see, the date of birth and the date of assumed passing, I was not around. So my date of birth is supposed to be 1961. I had an elder brother but the elder brother passed on at a very tender age, when one was still a child. So at times I have been thinking that if he managed to grow up, maybe he would have been the one who have found a place of work. And when I grow up, maybe I should have been looking up to him to say that there is a sibling that is already working, I'm going to visit him. But unfortunately, this is the creator's decision. I can't blame anyone. I just have to accept.
Over these mountain tops, Lebeya would walk at least 1 hour each way to school, barefoot, thirsty, and often hungry. Lebeya's best friend, Ben Nkuna, remembers those long barefoot walks, but says this wasn't the main problem.
We didn't have schools in the neighborhood. The nearest school we had was Abulovedu from Tabeleni, which was like 2.5 hours walk. And that was a long distance, and you have to do it every day without shoes. In winter, you would run into maybe knocking a stone and you injure your leg. Then you have to take a lap and just tie your piece of cloth and just tie the leg and walk to school daily. And it was not that easy, but we had to do it. My first pair of shoes, I got them when I was 18 years old, and I was in today's sort of grade 11 or standard 9 by that time. So I was a big boy. So all these years we used to walk barefoot. I used to go to school barefoot. The biggest dilemma was that we used to go to school without food. You know, like you wake up, you just drink water and you go, and the school will get out at about 2 o'clock. You are home at about 3 or 4 o'clock, earliest or so to say. And when you arrive home, you have to eat maybe pap and dried food, a dried vegetable, mkusa, a dried vegetable, and you go out to look for cattle again. So, and you come home 7, 8 o'clock. That was the difficult part. He also loved soccer, and I didn't like soccer so much because, he's much stronger and tougher than me. I'm sort of feminine in a way. My body is much more soft and so on, so I can't play soccer and stand for too long, but I had to because I was a friend with him. And one day he actually fell in the ground and he broke his hand. He didn't even tell anyone in the ground, and he went home, and we didn't know why he was going out, and we only overheard later that he was in a hospital and he was bandaged. So he was such a strong personality, and he could stand that. He didn't actually cry. But there were a lot of poverty-related issues and also family issues. You know, when families are poor, they also drink a lot, and there's a lot of fights within the family. I remember my father also had 2 wives, and his father had 2 wives, and so on. So there would be always conflict between the siblings, mainly caused by the rift within the families and so on. That is emotional. That and on one side makes you feel like, you know, we have a family disorder somehow. There were moments where we didn't have food, where we would go to his place and there's no food, and we go to my place, there's no food. And that was extremely disturbing, very emotional. And at that point in time, we had to play gapu-gapu to make money. I'm not sure if you know gapu-gapu. The money, you do spinning, but you also can play with money, and then you can earn some money from that. So sort of gambling. We were forced to do things like that. And he was very good in that. I was not that good, but we made some money. And when we had the money, we would buy bread. Remember, he was not only a friend of mine. I was the closest.
I love this place. That is where I would like to be walking about the mountains. That area is where my grandfather was living. And then my grandfather was also a soldier. He retired, and then I think that before he passed on, he was on pension. He shall have fought in those wars. towards the right there, that is where my family shall be living, have been living. That is where you'll find that there are graves of our ancestors. We never thought that we will be expected to leave. We thought that this is the area that we will live until we are the adults, because there were some other adult men who were working, who were living here. So we thought that even ourselves is just a matter of growing and then have our houses here. And that is where we will be growing. We never thought of leaving.
But fate intervened, and as Lebeya started to recount this part of his life, the landscape that gave birth to him shared in his story. A cow could be heard giving birth nearby.
If it have got a calf.
Oh, it might be. Oh.
Uh-huh. Yeah? Yeah, when we were that side, I also saw it. But obviously, if it is going to keep quiet, yeah, there is it. Mm. Mm. Yeah, we don't always see this, but obviously, when you grow up in an area like this, it's more often. It's happiness that you have got calves that are coming.
In the Balobedu faith, a cow giving birth symbolizes the start of something new, the process of birth or creation. And for Lebeya, the cattle herder from humble beginnings would go on to be appointed the head of the Hawks. Lebeya dreamed of becoming an engineer, but a lack of resources and support meant the only career open to him was the police force. But it was this difficult environment that helped toughen up Lebeya and prepare him for the challenges that lay ahead.
We were not exposed to other careers, so during those days for us it was a teacher or a police. So I didn't like teaching.
Teaching was something else you didn't.
Yeah, teaching is something that you repeat. You know, I don't want to repeat. I want to do something new.
Yeah.
Even you see that even the cases that we do,
Yeah.
it's always something new. I enjoyed before I became a police. As a student, I was working in the charge office. I will enjoy when people come because each person comes with a different problem. So I like that one, that no, it's not a routine. You will listen and get to understand what is the solution that this person is seeking.
The fact that we were the least people to have schools in the neighborhood, so most of the schools were far away from us, has sort of given us a challenge to try and reach to those schools, so to say. And many of the people in my age as well did not even have an opportunity to go to school because it was just not something that was, you know, it was selected. It was some families, lots of them, but there were some families that didn't even send their children to school. So the conditions were so tough, having to take care of cattle, having to go to school without shoes, having to go to school without proper meals, has sort of created who we are today. I mean, we're so resilient, basically. But also, you know, if you look at what have we done over many years, we have changed the environment that we live in. It's so modern that sometimes you don't even realize it's a rural area, mainly because of the fact that those who went to school those times were opening the gates for younger people. They were showing the younger people that no matter how difficult it is, you still can do it. So they opened the gate for the younger ones to follow.
I always believe that when we know, we are able to correct things. If we don't know, we will not be able to correct. You see, some of these things we have to appreciate and learn from those who have already tried. You see, when you read the books, you read what somebody else have already tested. You don't have to reinvent trying to find out that if I mix this and this, it will give me this medication. Somebody have already done that research. You just have to know and know how to do it. So that is why we need to be reading, so that we are not going to start from scratch. We are not going to reinvent the wheel. We take it from where others have left.
He started as the first port of call at a community service centre, rising through the ranks to become Deputy National Police Commissioner. But he joined the police force in 1984, enjoying his time, albeit under the apartheid government.
I never thought he would be a police. I thought he would pursue another career, maybe like engineering, because he wanted that and so on. And he went to Hammanskraal with Joy and my uncle, and they were trying to look for a job after he finished matric. And I think the reality of life came when he was there, that it is just not easy. And he decided he had to start somewhere. He knew he wanted to be an advocate or something beyond just an employer of somebody. So he came back, and when he was coming back from Hammanskraal, it was when I was going out to look for a job. And I was lucky to get a job in a power station. He actually took a completely different route. He decided to become a police, and through the police, he developed himself to be an attorney and advocate. And then he grew within the police system. I was sure that he will leave the police system and do something else. The police system is just a stepping stone, but he stayed there. And I still don't understand how he stayed so long, because he's quite a nice guy. He's not violent, and for me, police was like, you need to arrest people, and sometimes in those days you need to even beat them. You know, you remember in those old days when you're police, you needed to be rough. Remember there's some of the police that we knew that time, I won't mention the names, they were very tough people. When they come and the parents will tell you, I will call that police, he will come and finish you off.
But 30 years later, ironically, under the now democratic South Africa, he was dismissed as a police officer. After 30 years of dedication and committed service, Lebeya now found himself taking his former employees to court.
I found myself out of the police. I was no longer a police officer. On the 1st of June 2014. So I was out. So then in 2014, then what do? I'm no longer a police officer. The profession that I loved so much, because it is allied that I refuse to take a post, which post I have accepted in writing and verbally. So I'm out of the police. What do? I never stopped studying. I registered now through the universities in the legal environment. I studied Bachelor of Law. I passed Bachelor of Laws, Master of Laws, Doctor of Law. So I became a Doctor of Law after having studied this. So I'm a Doctor of Law.
What we are doing in South Africa, we are making use of the mutual legal assistance. Those countries that are supposed to be providing the information, there is that aspect that we are still working on. Unfortunately, the other countries may not be using the mutual legal assistance, asking the information from us. It is us who need the information from those other jurisdictions. And we have got to do as the laws in those countries.
General Mufume is also a doctor. We are two doctors who are deputies. We are the two doctors that are being dismissed from the police because of this restructuring, where it is believed that we are not accepting the posts. But I attended 2015, then I go to pupillage to go and attend pupillage because I'm an advocate. I'm admitted an advocate in 2006 already. I am an advocate, so now I just needed to go and do pupillage so that when I go and practice, I have done practical part of it. So 2015, I done that, I passed. And then by 2016, we go to court because of my dismissal that was pending at the labor court. When we are to go that day for the trial to start, the organization throw in the towel. They don't want to enter the contest. I am being reinstated in May 2016 with a retirement date on the 31st of that very same month, that I must now be retired in terms of the very section that they said they can't give it to me. So that is how I was retired before my normal retirement age. So I'm out of the police and then on this type of retirement. And that is when I tried to do something outside. But my heart was still in the police.
4 years later, fate again intervened.
When the post of the Hawks was advertised, I applied. 2015 I applied, and I was the only Lieutenant General who applied, but I was not shortlisted. All those who were shortlisted at one stage worked under me, but here I'm not being shortlisted.
All this changed when, 2 years later, in a complete 180, he was appointed head of the Hawks. It sent shockwaves.
He's employed and responsible to head the Hawks.
In 2018, he was appointed head of the Hawks. It sent shockwaves across the Balobedu area.
I think people still have that perceptions that a president or head of the Hawks should come from other places like Eastern Cape or KZN or even Northwest. If it's from Limpopo, it should be maybe Polokwane or something like that. I don't think they expect a sort of rural, remote kind of place like Mujaji having to produce people of that caliber. In reality, he has put us in the map, and we're proud to be associated with him. And we're so comfortable with him because he never forgets where he comes from. He's one of those guys that never forgets his roots.
Lebeya had his work cut out for him. South Africa was recovering from an era of state capture, where key institutions had been rendered ineffective, while criminals looted arms of government. An internal commission heard evidence that the crime-fighting arm of law enforcement, the Hawks, had been weakened with a low rate of prosecutions. Lebeya was appointed to turn the tide, and by many accounts has done so successfully.
When we investigate a case, it is our responsibility to collect evidence. Before we go to court, we must be sure ourselves that do we have enough evidence in the case docket? That is why we will arrest you as a suspect. Maybe we take you to court and then we ask the case to be remanded so that we can investigate further. That is, we want to close all those loopholes and get whatever evidence is available. The evidence will either prove that you have done what is being alleged or you are innocent. So it is not for us to create conviction even when you are innocent. Ours is to gather evidence and place it before the authority. So the National Prosecuting Authority, which have got the power to decide on prosecuting on behalf of the state, are the ones who will make a decision.
As the sun set over the area, Lebeya takes stock of where he came from and what he has achieved. He's turned around a once ridiculed organization, the Hawks, to become the #1 fear of criminals, demonstrating that grit, determination, and hard work can change one's life path.
Actually, was that guy that I spent quite a lot of time with. He was that guy that actually shaped who I am. I'm not sure if I shaped what he would be, but we loved what we did, particularly spending all our time reading, spending all our time studying and thinking about the future, but also, looking to see how we change our family circumstances going forward. That has always been a connecting thing.
Here I am. I have done those number of years, and then I'm still left with this few months ahead of me. What I'm doing is that I am parting this knowledge with those that are working with me. I don't want to leave this institution as a shell. I'm doing everything to ensure that we put everything in place so that my successor can find the Hawks better than how I found it. So that is what I intend to be doing.
Let's see that we cross the bridge when we reach at it, what the impact will be on the gaps that shall have been created in the DPCI. But if they go, it will mean that it is a recognition that we also have got the best trained investigators in the DPCI.
From the barefoot, forgotten streets of Hlabeleng village in the Limpopo mountains to heading up South Africa's elite crime-fighting unit, Lieutenant General Godfrey Lebeya's story is one of hope, hard work, and determination.